Hello friends, Tom Downey here. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. You just saw some rumors. Let's get into some potential free agent targets for the Dallas Cowboys. I've got 10 guys that I think could be options, but I want to know from you. What free agent do you want the Cowboys to sign the most? Let me know in the comments section, and I'll respond to some of those as well. I've got one guy in particular that I really want Dallas to sign, and we'll get to him at the end of this list of 10. But we start with some offensive options. Leading the way is wide receiver Jeremy Maclin. Recently cut by the Baltimore Ravens, is not the same Jeremy Maclin we saw with Philadelphia and earlier with the Kansas City Chiefs. But I like him as a fit for one particular reason. He was cut. That means signing Maclin would not impact the Cowboys' compensatory picks as a result of this free agency. And the Cowboys are set to get at least one good one thanks to Anthony Hitchens getting a big contract with the Chiefs. I don't think Maclin's the most ideal fit, but he is one of the better receivers left, and that brings us to our next guy, Cody Latimer. The Cowboys swung big, and they missed with guys like Sammy Watkins. Now the receiving corps out there is bad. It's not a good group. Cody Latimer could be a buy low, high reward type receiver. Has been a bust in the NFL, but he was a former second-round pick and had, his best year, even though it wasn't very good. But he would be a cheap signing. Maybe he's a guy that can make the roster and contribute as a cheap wide receiver depth option. One guy we know the Cowboys have interest in is Cameron Fleming, the offensive tackle last with the Patriots. He will visit the Cowboys next week. Started 6 games for New England. He'd be a great option as a swing tackle. That's the role he would play, and it gives the Cowboys more depth in case they end up losing someone like Tyron Smith injury or like La'el Collins injury. He is a much better fit than Chaz Green. More offensive line players. How about Xavier Su'a-Filo? Former second-round pick out of Houston, has not lived up to the hype that came with being an early second-round selection. But we've seen Dallas do this in the past. They add a guy that was highly touted coming out of college, didn't fare well in the NFL, a Jonathan Cooper-like move. He's not going to be back in Houston. He'll be a free agent. If Dallas wants to get a left guard in free agency, I think Su'a-Filo could be a cheaper option that has some upside and wouldn't preclude the Cowboys from drafting someone early in this year's NFL draft. Another depth option is Marcus Martin. The offensive lineman did not play for Cleveland last year. A former third-round pick, has struggled in the NFL as a starter, was not good with the 49ers, but he could be a younger version of Joe Looney, a guy you don't really want to play, but if you absolutely have to because of injuries, he can play guard or center. Over to the defensive side of the ball now. How about Jonathan Hankins? Much like Jeremy Maclin, isn't going to negatively impact the compensation pick formula. He was cut by the Colts earlier this week. He would fill the nose guard need for the Cowboys, has done that role for the Giants and the Colts. Not the most disruptive guy, but has shown the ability to pressure the quarterback in the past, particularly with the New York Giants. However, the big concern here, though, I think it makes some sense for the Cowboys. They don't value the nose guard spot that highly, and Hankins in the end might end up being too expensive. Speaking of former Giants, how about Keenan Robinson? At linebacker, he is what we call a cheap veteran backup. Exactly what Dallas needs right now. Hitchens is gone. Kyle Wilber is gone. Robinson is a guy that if you absolutely have to, can plug him in as a spot starter if Sean Lee gets hurt again or, God forbid, Jalen Smith gets hurt again. But he was limited to 6 games because of injury, so he has his own injury problems, but he would be a cheap backup option for the Cowboys at linebacker. Here's a more expensive option, Navarro Bowman. We know Dallas likes him because they tried to sign him during last season. In the end, he went to the Oakland Raiders. Might not be back with Oakland. They went out and they signed somebody else. Now Bowman, a free agent. The market for linebackers has been a little slow to develop, including for Bowman. I still fear he's out of the Cowboys' price range, and/or they want to stick with Sean Lee and Jalen Smith as their top 2 linebackers, which, if so, is totally fine. But it does reduce the chances that Bowman comes to Dallas. Still, there was interest there last year. I'm sure there is still interest, of course, ATRP at the right price. 2 safeties now. Trey Boston, a free safety type, coming off his best NFL season. 5 interceptions, so check off the ball skills for me, and he picked up his play late in the year. I don't think he'll be that expensive, but Boston has indicated that he wants to get paid in free agency. That might not be the best fit for the Cowboys unless they can get him to take a 1-year prove-it type deal and then have him cash in next offseason, kind of like Tyrann Mathieu did, who, of course, the Cowboys did not make a play for. And then my favorite option and favorite target this offseason, how about Kenny Vaccaro? If Dallas doesn't get Earl Thomas, if they don't go trade up for Derwin James, Kenny Vaccaro is safety that they have to get as far as I'm concerned. 60 tackles, 1.5 sacks, can do it all for you at safety. Can play multiple spots, slot corner, strong safety. I think he's a perfect fit for what Dallas wants to do at safety. And most importantly, we know the Cowboys have interest in Kenny Vaccaro because they almost dealt for him during last year's NFL draft in a trade that would have given up Orlando Scandrick. Vaccaro's market has not solidified yet, but I think the Cowboys are a team that should have interest in him, and I hope Dallas ends up getting him, especially if they miss on Earl Thomas. So to recap, here are the top 10 Cowboys potential free agent targets, which, knowing Cowboys, they probably won't end up signing any of them because they just don't make moves in free agency. Jeremy Maclin, Cody Latimer, Cameron Fleming, Xavier Su'a-Filo, and Marcus Martin are on the offensive side of the ball. And then on defense, Jonathan Hankins, Keenan Robinson, Navarro Bowman, Trey Boston, and my favorite target, Kenny Vaccaro. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDown for more Cowboys coverage. If you missed anything, don't worry. We'll loop it here again for you guys in just a second. Until then, you guys stay classy out there.